Hello, everybody. This is Greg and Mark, Sigmar and Son. How's everybody doing? And today we're going to start and do a show about one of Mark's favorite topics, and that is the Skaven. If you listened to our show a couple, weeks ago, maybe months ago, about how Mark got into Age of Sigmar, we know that I had to mute my other screen there. Sorry about that. If you listened to our show a few months ago or a month ago about how Mark got into it, Skaven was kind of the race he started with and their crazy fanatical stuff that they did. So Mark is probably going to carry the show today.
That's the plan.
That is the plan. Normally we start off with news and what we've been working on and stuff, but there's not a whole lot of news because of the lockdown and everything that's been going on. I guess news,
yeah.
What?
Some convention news, yeah.
Yeah, so we know that I guess Midwest Meltdown that got canceled, which is unfortunate, but probably the right call.
Yeah.
I checked with Dave, who runs NashCon. He says that that's still going and there are still openings. And that is at the end of August, I believe. So we can add that in the link below. My camera, yeah, okay. And also, finally, we got
GenCon was canceled.
GenCon was canceled.
That's like the big. Well, I feel like we knew that was coming. Like 70,000 people crowded. Like you go into the dealer hall, like you're just next to people. I can't remember a time I didn't go to GenCon and didn't come back with con crud.
Right, and so now you'd really be con crud.
Yeah, con COVID.
So yeah, that's the kind of the news, right? So Siege World in St. Louis is August 28th, I think. They say it's still happening. I mean, it's
kind of a smaller.
Yeah, they had a lot of Warhammer 40K. There are probably 100 people in a room. So I believe that one of the people involved with that has joined us here on the chat. So if he knows anything about it, LaRon, let us know. But so yeah, we got
23rd and 24th. He said
23rd, 24th, maybe. So, but that's actually right across the river in Illinois. So it's probably going to be more restrictive because Illinois has been more restrictive than Missouri as far as events.
Yeah, maybe they have more space or something this year, and they can like set up tables. Whatever the social, acceptable distances that the state required deems, necessary. But yeah, I know right now they're still, banning like gatherings of more than, I want to say 50 people.
Yeah. But so it's really.
I went to Target today, and there was way more than 50 people.
Right. Well, it's a sad thing because this is the first year Siege World was going to run a 2-day tournament.
Yeah, 2-day AOS. Yeah, usually they had 2,000 point.
2-day. Yeah.
1 day for 3 rounds and then 1,000 point. I think last year they did a meeting engagement.
I think so.
But yeah, this year it was going to be like a GT style, and I was pretty excited for that because it's a local tournament that we get to go to. We don't get to do many tournaments, unfortunately, and that's like one of the one we try to go to.
Right. So today we're talking the rats. Right? So, the other news, I think that I heard that Warhammer Games Workshop is going to be doing maybe shipping in June. I know the web store's open, but I mean maybe new stuff right at the beginning of June.
Yeah. And you think everything's going to get pushed back, or you think they're going to just like open the floodgates and like let out like Lumineth and like the
I think things
are old Gargants at the same time. I know they like to do like that slow drip. I feel like that probably.
I think that they're gonna
more economically.
They're gonna not push all the stuff that they were planning on at once.
Like things will just get pushed back because of it. Yeah.
So we know that I think things will get pushed back. We did see what news or whatever that the General's Handbook had shipped. So one of the interesting questions I had on that is the General's Handbook going to be
Delayed?
Well, is it going to be delayed, or are they going to put it out? I mean, it had to have gone to print with the idea that maybe
With the Lumineth and
Lumineth
Giants in it, possibly.
So they might have the points in there for those guys, even though they haven't been released.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So that's kind of interesting. So LaRon, who works at one of our local game stores, is saying that June 6th is the release of something, and the week before is pre-orders. And we'll give them
probably
game night local in St. Louis.
Yeah.
So that's it for news.
Not much.
So Skaven, this is a big book, and there's a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah, well, I think we're gonna try it. It's been out for a while. I think we're just doing a revisit. We're gonna try and just pick out what is important, what we think is, like the best stuff in the book, and then later on go through some competitive lists, some theory crafting lists, and some wacky lists. Right? I mean, we got a wacky list, I think, in here somewhere.
So yeah, and well, as Haywo says, these lists are not meant to be ultra competitive. They're starting points and conversation starters.
Well, I have one list that I think is
we got a couple that are
competitive. Yeah.
But instead of going through every single unit in the book and making it a 4-hour show,
yeah, I'm not about that.
We figure most people kind of know the units, and by the way, the thing is the stuff's out on the website, right?
Yeah.
So
I guess
thought we would go with the one thing that's not necessarily on the website and stuff is the allegiance abilities, and we talk about those. And then maybe each of the clans.
And then we'll get into like some key artifacts and stuff like that, and then we'll get into the lists.
Right. So hopefully this will be enjoyed. So you want to go through?
So the allegiance abilities. You have the allegiance abilities that like everyone gets. You have the lead from the back, where if you have a Skaven type hero that isn't a monster, so none of the vermin lords, basically. You get the lookout, sir. Applies to melee and missile weapons. Some people might not know this, but that does apply to the Screaming Bell and Plague Furnace and the Skaven Claw Lord. They're heroes, but not monsters, even though they are larger models. So you get the lookout, sir, for missile weapons and melee. You could like combo that with a Grith Feather Charm or something like that, making -2 to hit. A little something you can do always to make yourself more tanky. So that's called lead from the back. You have Scurry Away. When picked to fight.
Let me interrupt you there for a second. Most people probably know what lookout sir is, but basically you're -1 to hit if you have 3 models within 3 inches.
Yeah.
And so that will happen for both melee and missile. So yeah, and like you said, the bell or the furnace could be a big.
Yeah, it gives them especially it gives them more tankiness, especially with the bell being, have the 5-up negate as well too.
Yeah.
So
okay, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. No, it's good that you tell people. I think some beginner people might not know the exact ruling of.
Beginner people like me, I had to look it up.
I have to look up shit all the time. Stuff all the time, excuse me. Scurry Away. When picked to fight, a hero can make, and so instead of fighting, you can retreat away instead of piling an attack. It's good to retreat to a new objective. It's good if your little engineer or something gets in combat. You're not going to win a fight basically with the engineer. I mean,
it's pinned,
yeah. Your 5-wound little models. I mean, you're just going to use the Scurry Away basically all the time and make a normal move away.
Now this is so you got to be when you're picked to fight. So if somebody charges your hero and they can attack you first, so you can't do that. But after that, you could.
Yeah. So on your choice to fight, you say, okay, I'm going to pick my Warlock Engineer to fight. He's going to scurry away instead of piling in and attacking, and so he makes.
So this is like the old skinks, right? You would do this.
Well, skinks kind of. This is better than skinks, right? Skinks.
Well, I thought they could make a retreat move always instead of attacking.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
The old ones, not the new ones. So it doesn't even matter.
You have overwhelming mass.
And this is a big one.
Yeah, this kind of gives like power to your overwhelming mass and strength in numbers. Kind of give power to your hordes. You have overwhelming mass. You add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons for 20 or more models, and then you have +1 to wound for 30 or more models. So when you have 40 plague monks, they're 2 up, 3 up. 40 clan rats are 3 up, 3 up with the rusty blade. 4 up, 3 up with the spear, and storm vermin become 3 up, 2 up. Now, generally, you're gonna for a turn you might have the +1 to wound. You're gonna lose that pretty quickly with Skaven, just because of the nature of it.
And so some units you got to look at the max size, like the Skyer. Is it the
Acolytes can only get up to 30, so
they have a maximum of 30. So if they take 1 wound, they're going to lose that, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess playing against Skaven, you kind of got to know that too, that you can kind of strip some of their strength by just flicking 1 wound on something.
Yeah. Yeah, +1 to wound for Acolytes is really good, but so is +1 to hit. Next, you have strength in numbers, which in the base rules, you get 1 bravery for every 10 models. Instead, you get 2 bravery for every 10 models. It just allows although if you're making bravery checks with Skaven, you're probably having a bad time anyway. Like, you want to be using your either bell, like the endless spell to bell, or you want to be using your actual screaming bell to be negating, not taking any.
Now let me ask you a question. That's battle shock, though, right? Strength in numbers is battle shock, I believe.
Yeah.
And so things
that just increases your bravery. No, it just increases your bravery. It's not for battle shock.
Bell makes you battle shock immune.
Yes.
So things like the catapult or whatever,
things that attack your bravery, this is helpful against, right?
I'm not sure. We'll come back to that.
I don't think it's important, but it's not. Well, we can come back to that. We can look that up later.
I'll come back to that when we talk about.
Whenever I'm going over a list, we can come back to that while I'm going over it and you're looking it up. But yeah, so you have the strength in numbers. It just adds bravery. It just gives your guys a little more staying power if they're making battle shock tests. And then you have the null hole. I mean, we can count. I mean, it basically makes you able to.
I've gone ahead and shared it out here.
Let's pull it up then. You zoom in on that.
I can. If I can. There you go. Can you read that?
Yeah. So I mean, I'll just paraphrase it. Basically, it allows you to port over to the other null holes. You can, instead of making a movement, and it counts as your movement. So you can port over to the other null holes that have been set up if you're within 6 inches, and also the null holes add. They become arcane for you, and they are deadly for your opponent. So while you're within an inch, you get +1 to casting. While your opponent is within an inch, they have the deadly terrain feature. So if they roll a 1 when they're within an inch of it after they finish a move or charge, they take a D3 mortal wounds.
So you get 3 null holes, right?
Yeah, 3 null holes.
And so you can transport from one to another. So you start within 6 inches of one. So then you remove it, and then you got to come out within 6 inches of another, and more than 9 from enemy models.
Correct.
Okay. And so Gnaw placement's kind of a big gnaw placement's a big thing in Skaven, because are you going to try and one in your area, two in another area?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, it depends on where you're placing your holes, depends on the scenario and what list you're playing against. Sometimes you might want the double arcane. I mean, you're obviously always going to have one in your area and probably two in two. Laurent said whenever they make the battle shock test, they get.
Yeah, I already looked at that. Yeah, it's battle shock. So taking a step back, strength and numbers is battle shock only.
Okay. All right, so it doesn't affect anything in regards to like bravery bomb stuff, but it still gives them a little more staying power. Anyway,
definitely.
I'll stop being tangential. Where were we? Yeah, no-hole placement is very important with Skaven. It kind of just depends on what lists you're playing against and what scenario you're going to be on, though. So, I mean, you could talk about no-hole placements for an hour straight, but I mean, you're generally gonna have one in your side and two in the other. Is generally how it ends up going.
Yeah. Or I've seen people do more of a side thing, more on the side.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like one on their area and two sort of on the side.
Yeah.
But
they do have to be you can't put them anywhere. They do have to be within 6 inches of the board edge.
Right.
So, all right, we can move on to Ways of the Great Clan. These are command trait or allegiance abilities that you'll get depending on the heroes you take.
Yeah.
So if you have a master clan, every time a master clan model uses a command point on a 5-up, you receive an extra command point. You can combo that with the Aether Chord's Brooch. Have 5-up for command points. So if you're trying to do some command point shenanigans stacking stuff, you can try and recoup your command points this way. Molder gets one clan Molder fighting beast in your army. You get to add D3 wounds to it.
Yeah, and it's one for each master molder in your army.
One for each master molder, correct? Yes. So if you take 2 master molders and you have it can only be picked once though, so you can't pick the same thing twice.
Right.
So if you have 2, it's good to be used for either making a Rad Ogre a champion. I say champion in the unit, or it's good to add wounds to your
Hell Pit Abomination.
Hell Pit Abomination, yes.
Right. It also the beast that's picked also gets to reroll ones.
Yes. Yeah, it's actually pretty good. It's nice with the Hell Pit Abomination because the Hell Pit Abomination's on a chart, so it like increases the ceiling of that chart, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna degrade as fast.
Right.
Ashen. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just saying it's reroll ones, so yeah. It's
Yeah.
good for all the way down.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
it's
you're good.
Reroll ones for hit rolls.
You're good.
Go ahead.
Eshin, if there's any heroes included, you get to pick an enemy here. I mean, you're probably not going to ever do this one, honestly. I mean, it really.
Yeah, I don't think. But if you have an Eshin hero,
I mean, yeah, if you put a deceiver in your list, you'll have this, I guess.
Right. So, I guess the important thing is that
these are free.
It's not one or the other. So this is not like Ideneth, where you're basically saying I'm
Clan Futh and I get
this. If you have a Master Clan hero, you're going to get the Master Clan ability. If you have a Molder hero, you're going to get the Molder Clan ability.
Yeah.
If you have a Eshin hero.
Yeah. So if you have a hero from the clan, you get their corresponding ability.
So yeah. So this one is basically you get to pick an enemy hero, and everybody gets Eshin units attacking those heroes get to reroll wound rolls.
Yep. And then Verminous, you get to pick a command trait for up to 6 Claw Lords. So
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
Talk about that later, but like the Claw Lord on the Brood Whore, I think you just always get a free command trait with that, which is quite nice. And then Scryer probably has the best one. You get a Warpstone Spark. So if you have any Clan Scryer heroes at the start of the battle, you get D3 plus 3 sparks. For each spark, you can, and you have to roll in a D6 on a 1. You take D3 mortal wounds. But for each spark,
you consume that spark. That's the narrative.
Right, yeah. So there's always a cost with Scryer stuff, I find. If it's like you buff this thing and then you get zapped.
Right.
Or you have a chance to get zapped. So you can reroll casting for dispelling and reroll casting and unbinding rolls. There's shooting 3 units wholly within 13 inches of the hero. They can add 1 damage to their missile weapons. And for combat, there's a reroll hit rolls until end of combat phase. So there's a spark basically that's to be used in any stage of the fighting, casting, shooting, and combat phase.
Right.
And then pestilence.
So we should say that we're paraphrasing these, so people should actually zone in and read the real rules. But yeah, that's basically.
Yeah, well, I feel like if we read the entire rules,
we're not sitting here to read the rule book.
Yeah. So then you have pestilence on an unmodified roll for a prayer of 6. You get to pick one of the great plagues in addition to manifest to the effect of the prayer. And there's 5 different plagues. I honestly haven't looked in these in a while.
Yeah, bubonic plague. Pick the nearest enemy within 13 of the priest. And it's infected. Several units are equally close. Pick which ones. The unit infected suffers a D6 mortal wounds. It can then jump to other units if you actually wipe out that unit. The Crimson Wheel Curse. Pick the nearest enemy within 13 inches of the priest and use infected with the curse. Several the infected unit suffers 1 mortal wound. In addition, it's the art of each of your hero phases. The infected unit and each enemy unit within 1 inch of the infected unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So it's like they take 1 mortal wound, and then at the beginning of their hero phase, they take another mortal wound for the rest of the game. Another plague, the Red Maw Plague. You pick a hero with the nearest hero within 13 inches of the priest, and if the is not within 3 inches of model from the phase, a friendly model.
And we can skip these. You basically get a. I mean, they're not.
The Never Plague is really good, which is you can reroll prayer rolls for friendly clan pestilence priests until the rest of the battle. And so that's probably the first one you're going to pick.
That's like the one I was about to say. I know there's like one you just always pick first because it allows you to get your prayers off more consistently.
Yeah, and then the next one, the other one you're probably going to pick is the Scourge, which is basically a 5-up. Pick against a unit. It's a roll a dice for each model in the unit, and on a 5-up, they take a mortal wound.
Yeah, so if you're going up against some 40 Mortec guard,
yeah,
it's the horde killer. All right, so that's those are the ways of the Great Clan. If you, like we said, if you pick any hero, you get these corresponding traits with those heroes. It's not an or situation. It's a and. You don't get this or this. You get all of these if you pick the hero. Next we have the command traits. I just highlighted some of the more important traits, basically.
Basically, 3 command traits though that everybody gets, and then every clan has 3 unique ones, right?
Yes, yeah. There's 3 shared ones.
Valor and Savage Overlord. Everybody gets those, and then everybody else has the other 3.
Yeah, a list of them.
A list of 3 others that they can choose.
So I just want to call out some of them that I think are probably the more used ones. For the shared one, you have Verminous Valor. You're probably always going to take that on your Claw Lord. That you take. When you allocate a mortal wound you can basically pawn off wounds to friendly Skaven Tide that are within 3 inches on a 5-up, or a on a 4-up, or a 5-up for a War Machine or monster. And then you have Malevolent, which this might not seem good, but we can talk about it later why it is good. You're gonna reroll melee wound rolls of 1. And we can talk about why that's later. It's really good on the Warp Null Vermin Lord, basically.
Right.
Master Clan, the most important one.
Real quick, there's the Savage one that is just add bravery to everybody within 18.
Yeah, it's not very good.
So it's there. Okay.
Yeah. The Master Clan, you're probably going to pick this if you're playing a spellcasting list. Or you just didn't take anything Scryer, probably. It's Master or Magic. Once per hero phase, you can add 1 casting, dispelling, or unbinding. So that's gonna be good if like you need to get off a crucial, like Death Frenzy. That will, if you're going up against like something like Zinch or something, you need to get off like a crucial Death Frenzy. That's always good to take. And it allows you to cast your important endless spells like Warp, Lightning, Vortex, and the Bell more reliably.
I mean, I think the Master Clan ones are all good because they got a Supreme Manipulator, which so you on a most of those guys the Master Clans, when they use a command point, they on a 5-up they can get it back, right?
Yep.
And so this one they get to
you can like steal command points,
right?
And
reroll that die roll. Right, so where you said at 5-up, you get the command point back.
Yeah, oh yeah, you can reroll the die roll.
Die roll if you're basically into a command point thing. So that's potentially one I think that's good. And the other one is you can, like you said, you can steal a command point. So on a 6, you can steal your command point.
Yeah.
And it says it's each time your opponent receives a command point. So it's not just at the start of the battle. All right, at the beginning of the hero phase.
Right.
That's kind of
so every time they Aether Quartz, like if they Aether Quartz you,
right,
back and forth. Yeah, all the Master Clan ones are good. I would just picked out one of each of the.
Yeah, but realistically, you're probably going if you're
Master Magic, probably
with if you're going with a Magic list.
Yeah. Next we got Scryer. The one that you're basically always going to pick is the Range of Vener. 1 friendly unit wholly within 13 inches can reroll hit rolls for missile attacks this phase. That's going to be good on Giselles if you decided to move the Giselles that turn. You can, because Giselles have, if you don't move, you get the reroll hit rolls anyway. But if you do have to move the Giselles up to get in firing range, you can do this on them. It's also good for the Storm Fiends or Scryer Acolytes. So anything that is going to have a missile attack, this is going to be really good on.
Right.
Yeah, and a couple of my lists, you'll see that I took this on.
So
my Arch Warlock.
One of them gets you an extra 2 Warpstone Sparks, but that's really not.
I mean, this is the Range of Vener one is just so much better. The Warpstone Sparks are good, but they're not good enough to make it so. The Warpstone Spark ones are good, but rerolling all missile attacks is just better, I feel like.
Right.
Especially because of the Warpstone Sparks, like you're getting on average 5 of them per game.
So,
like, you shouldn't be like you're gonna use them all, but you're not gonna be like hurting for them.
Right.
Pestilence, I've never seen any of these really be taken unless you're like running like a full Pestilence army, Verminous, or Eshin army. But I just called out the ones I thought were the best. For the Pestilence, you have the Master of Rotten Ruin, and that allows you to reroll the dice that determines if a prayer is answered. So you'll put that on your furnace, and basically gets you a reroll on your prayer.
Right, and so your prayer is it on a 4-up? It's answered, or
no, yeah,
or 5-up? It's answered, or
that's
anything. Okay.
Yeah.
So that reroll, really.
It gives you a 25% chance to fail instead of a 50-50.
Right.
which is good because some of the prayers are actually really good. I think Pestilence Army probably has some gas in the tank, but it's probably just not as good as some of the other stuff. We can get into that later, though.
Right.
Yeah, Verminous, which has I actually didn't pick one for Verminous because I think they're all trash. Is there anything that you think is good in there in the Verminous command trait?
Add 3 to the attack characteristic of a general's melee weapon if you're taking a Verminous.
If you're taking the Warbringer, you're probably doing it wrong anyway.
I'm just saying if you're bringing a Vermin Lord.
The Vermin
Lord.
Yeah. But yeah, you can throw that on the Warbringer and have him murder someone in one turn, I guess. But for Molder, I did the Molder Supreme, which is when you pick a prize creation, you can choose one of your fighting beasts, and instead of adding a D3, you can add a flat 3. And then, so that's not bad. Instead of rolling, on average, you're going to get, instead of 2 wounds, you're going to get 3 wounds on your dudes. And then for Eshin, you're going to have, I actually picked 2 because I think these are pretty good. I think the Incredible Agility one is pretty good. It makes it so your Eshin hero can fly. So giving the Verminlord Deceiver fly is quite good. It allows you to bypass. I mean, they can bypass stuff with the Skitter Leap anyway, but after the Skitter Leap, if they don't have a good Skitter Leap, it allows them to bypass like hordes that might be blocking off key targets that you want to assassinate with the Deceiver. And
right.
then
fly is so important in the game.
Yeah, fly is just great. And then I picked Shadowmaster as well. While within 1 inch of terrain, not wholly within, while within 1 inch of terrain, you are invisible to over 6 inches away. And I actually think that's really good in this meta because we're starting to see shooting come back a lot with, you have Zinj Flamers, you've got KO being really good right now. Some Skaven lists that are Storm Fiend heavy and Giselle heavy are popping up a little bit. So it allows you to not just have your Deceiver get shot off the table turn 1.
Right. And that's, I was going to say, we haven't gone into battalions and stuff, but generally the battalions are kind of E. So this army tends to be a high drop army, right?
Skaven generally tends to be a high drop army unless you're running Molder, which you can get the Fleshed Menagerie.
Yeah,
is a pretty low drop, but everything else is you're going to be a high drop army.
Right. So if you're high drop, you're going to be going second, like you said. So now you basically can put your your Verminlord Deceiver out there.
Mm-hmm.
Within 1 inch of terrain, he's not going to get shot because turn 1, people just could shoot it off the board before you even go.
Yeah. So, it allows your big, threat piece to not die turn 1, which is pretty important. Yep. Unfortunately, you're probably not going to take any of these stuff because it's just.
Well, you're a firm believer.
Your Verminlord Deceiver is probably not going to be your general effort. I don't know what to say.
Right.
But yeah, so we can move on to artifacts. I actually only have 2 artifacts I picked out.
Okay.
For the entire book, I think just the.
Well, I think there's more than that are important, but okay.
Well, I think these 2 are the best ones, and the other ones get overshadowed by.
All right.
What am I thinking of? All the other artifacts that you're able to take. But I have Suspicious Stone for Master Clan. Gives you a 5+ wound negation. So it makes all your Master Clan stuff a lot more tanky.
I think
a lot more staying power. What's up?
Skaven Brew.
Oh, Skaven Brew is sweet. Yeah, that's the one that lets you add 1 to your attack characteristic, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Take a D3 mortal wounds and add 1 to the attack characteristics of melee weapons used by that unit until the next hero phase. So if you're going to take, it used to be Plague Monks, right? You would basically Skaven Brew the Plague Monks.
Yeah, now you're probably Skaven Brewing the Storm Vermin.
Or something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, if you
Yeah,
Skaven Brew
you
the
can
Storm
add one to
Vermin
the
or
attack.
Plague Monks, it, and
40
it lasts until your next hero phase, correct? So with Death Frenzy.
until your next hero phase.
So with Death Frenzy, it allows you to pile in when they die and you pile in, like you'll get that extra attack as well.
Yeah, so the Plague Monks have 2 attacks, so they go from 2 to 3.
Yeah, you're increasing their possible damage output by a third.
Okay, so I think that's one that's definitely
Yeah, no, I definitely should put that in there. And then, did you have any other callouts that?
I joke about it. At some point, what is it? Achievement achieved? What?
The brass orb?
Brass orb, yeah. Just at one time, I want to see somebody brass orb like Marathi.
Or just Archaon, or just like something. Oh wait, yeah, just something huge. Yeah.
Like say Marathi that can't take more than 3 wounds or whatever the brass orb
Yeah,
is.
you'd kill it. Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's not.
I'm sure someone has done that once.
Yeah, if anybody heard the rumor of it happening, let us know.
Yeah, I took brass orb to a tournament one time, and I was like, I don't care if I lose every game. If I brass orb my opponent's biggest thing, like turn 1, I'm a happy man.
But that was before this book.
This was before this book, yeah, but
it wasn't as good as it was. Better than it is now.
Yeah, well, there wasn't a lot of other choices, yeah, but still, the same thinking applies. If you brass orb like a giant thing, that's a victory in my book. I don't care if you lose the game.
Yeah.
Mark that score sheet 20-0 in your favor in your mind.
Right.
But on a serious note, I put in the Vigor Dust Injector from Scryer. This one's pretty. You'll see this in a lot of people's competitive lists when they're running like a Scryer list. I think it's pretty. It's a really good artifact. In the hero phase, a Skaven Tide unit wholly within 12 inches may gain +1 to charge and hit rolls until your next hero phase. But the downside is, see, Scryer, man, always downside. They take a D3 mortal wounds at the start of your next hero phase.
And so if you're running Sky, you're going to basically have that on your Storm Fiends, or
you're gonna put it on your Storm Fiends or your Acolytes probably. You're gonna put it on your Storm Fiends most likely though, because you're gonna have them shoot, and then you're gonna have them charge, and then you're gonna have them fight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they can withstand the D3 mortal wounds. Like it's
not
going to
you can Vigor Dust Plague Rolls too, Plague Monks too, though, right? So
yeah, you can Vigor Dust anything, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Vigor Dust just gives you a lot more ability to do damage. It just increases your capability to your damage output. And then, is there any other callouts that you have? I mean, I really only.
I don't know. A Pestilence hero can basically become a Plague Priest.
Yeah.
Probably.
Making your Corruptor a Plague Priest is kind of cool.
Yeah. So that was one that I saw there. Or reroll wounds with a Blade of Corruption. But realistically, why would you take that when you can take a Sword of Judgment or something?
Yeah. So.
That's pretty much it.
All right. On to Endless Spells. I put. We can talk about the Warp-Lightning Vortex. The Warp-Lightning Vortex, when the book came out, was absolutely busted. You could cast it. I mean, you could cast it without having to basically deal with the whole unbind range, because you could cast it safely out of the unbind range and still end up hitting the unit that you wanted to hit. But in the latest errata, they changed it from being set up to 13 inches instead.
Right.
So they halved it.
So let me see. I think I have this here. Hold on. Bell of Doom. That's not it. That's not it. Warp Lightning Vortex. All right. So we will share the screen. Make it bigger. All right. So this is the non-errated one. They didn't change it off their website.
Impressive.
So this is 13, right?
Yeah, it's 13 now.
13 inches. So there's 3 of these guys, and you set the first one up 13 inches away, and then the second one and the third one have to be exactly 7 from the first and exactly 7 from each other. So you basically get a triangle of these guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Equilateral triangle, each 7 inches away from each other.
Yep.
Okay. So the goofy thing on this guy is that, yeah, it used to be 26 inches, and so it was really tough. And it was a casting value of 8, so once it got out, and it still is, once it gets out, it's tough to unbind.
Yeah. But the big thing with it was when previously you have the 26 casting range, and then you set up you can stand back, 26 inches, or you can stand back because 26 plus 7 is
right
33. So you can stand back 33 inches away and still get this thing off and hit something with it,
right,
and not have to deal with anyone unbinding this, which is what made it really good. There was no.
Yeah, my first game up at Adepticon. I played this, and I had the Legion and Nagash with all the Nighthaunt flying units, and it was like
no flying, and there was a huge piece of terrain. I remember.
Yeah, so
because we played right next to each other, there's a huge piece of terrain, and he was like, "I literally can't move."
Yeah, units cannot fly or run when they make a normal move within 6 inches of any of this. And then there was, people would call it the rat trap, right? So you would actually cast the soul snare shackles, which also would
have. And then you had warp gale too, right? Which is a spell from the warp seer that reduces movement as well. But now we digress. They made it to 13 inches, so it's a lot harder to get off now. It's a high casting value, so you're not always going to get it off. And when you do get it off, there's a possibility it gets dispelled, and you have to put yourself in kind of harm's way to get into the.
It does affect your own units.
Yeah.
So we talked about not being able to fly or whatever, but basically you basically on a 4-up, a unit suffers a D3 mortal wounds, and on a modified roll of 6, they suffer a D6 mortal wounds. And that's with everybody if you're within 6 inches of one of the models. And you get to add 2 if there is, add 1 if there's an additional model, add 2 if they're within 6 of all 3.
Yeah.
If you're in the center of the triangle, you're really in trouble.
Yeah. And I mean, the damage wasn't even the worst thing about this. It was just not being able to move. Movement is the most important thing in this game.
You'd be trapped in there and just take the damage over and over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but movement is the most important thing in this game, and being able to just reduce someone's movement to nothing is pretty awful. It's not a fun play experience either. So I think it's good that they changed it to 13 inches.
One thing that hasn't been changed is this here. When the model is set up, and at the end of each movement phase.
Yeah, so you get the double tap.
Yeah, so you get to hit them on when you set it up, and then at the end of your movement phase, it's like I cast it and it happens. Then I move and it happens. Then you move and it happens.
But I think that's fine because I actually don't think it's very good anymore.
Well,
it's 100 points. You kind of have to. It's 100 points, and you have to kind of finagle around to get it casted on turn 1 to actually really hinder your opponent. And then I think moving on from the Warp Lightning Vortex, the Bell of Doom, I think it's a super underrated spell.
Bring it up.
Yeah, so on a casting value of 6, so it's pretty easy to cast. And it has a damaging ability. Roll 3d6 after this model is set up or finishes a move on a roll of 13. Each unit within 13 inches of this model suffers d3 mortal wounds. Then this model dispels itself. But while you're playing it, obviously, is the second part, the Boldness of Despair. Do not take battle shock tests for Skaven Tide while they're within 13 inches of this model. So it's not wholly within, it's 13. So you can string your guys out and get, not have to take battle shock for like all your units if you place it correctly. And then it also has subtract 1 from bravery while they're within, which is kind of whatever.
Okay.
And then you have the Vermintide, which
the Bell of Doom is 40 points.
40 points, yeah.
And the Vermintide's also 40 points.
40 points, yeah. The Vermintide, what is it? You roll 13 dice, and for every 6, you deal a mortal wound.
After the model has moved, the player... Well, first of all, it doesn't affect your own Skaven units.
Yeah.
You roll 13 dice for each unit that finishes a normal move or charge move within 3 inches of the model. For each 6, the unit suffers 1 mortal wound.
Yep.
And basically, you get to set it up and then make a move with it.
Yeah, I've seen it being used as more of like addition to the wall, like some lists of the Wall Wars where you bring a bunch of endless spells. I mean, it's a big base. You can block off a lot with it, actually.
Right, and so the other thing is that your Skaven units can essentially fly over it. They just.
Yeah.
So other people are going to have to pay the movement up and over. You can just go treat it as no terrain.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Did you want to go over these battalions, or do you want to move on to the lists?
Well, I guess I was going to say no. Let's just skip the battalion. Congregation of Filth, I thought, is if you're playing Pestilence, you might be considering, because you're going to take a Plague Priest and you're going to have 2 units of Plague Monks.
Yeah.
And so it's 160, and it's while the monks are wholly within 18 inches of the Plague Priest, you get a 6-up mortal wound shrug. So if you're playing Pestilence, that's probably one you're probably going to consider going far. And now they got rid of, you used to be able to, there was the whole covens and everything.
From Scryer, yeah, they got rid of that. Or they changed them.
They changed them, so you really can't one drop and pop up and kill people anymore, right?
Yeah, no, that's not a thing.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
So yeah, we're 50 minutes in, so let's go ahead and skip the battalions and just kind of.
50 minutes in, wow.
I just wanted to throw out a couple units that we talked about. I'm going to screen share or something here. I don't have this guy that I can make it much bigger, but there are 3 Forge World models, and you might actually see it. You see these a lot, I think. At least 2 of them you will see a lot, and that is the Skaven Clawlord on the Brood Horror.
Mm-hmm.
He's verminous. He's a hero, and he's a Claw Lord. So the ones where you use Claw Lord special ability, where each guy gets a command trait.
Yeah, so you give a free command trait to this guy, and you're generally going to give him the Verminous Valor, which lets him pawn off wounds to dudes near him. Right.
And so the other one, which we have to talk about, is this guy. The Warhammer Vermin Lord.
Model in Skaven.
What's that?
The best model in Skaven.
Yeah. So, and the big deal here is that he's got this Gnaw-Glaive, which is 3-up, Rend -2, damage 5 with no damage on him.
Yeah.
He's a double wizard.
Yeah, he's double wizard. He has a really good spell.
Yeah.
You can pick off a model and kill it. If you roll greater, then it's a wound, so you can like pick off banners and whatnot with that. Or I suppose you could try and spike like a small little
You
hero.
don't have to put him on the board. He can come in from your gnaw holes.
Yeah.
Beginning of your game. So, but anyway, this big thing here, 4 up, 4 attacks at 3 up, 3 up. And we'll talk later about how to improve that.
Yeah.
And then I was going to say, Plague Monks, I just thought I'd talk about it real fast because they did errata it, and this is the new War Scroll.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing to take away from them is that the pair of Photid blades was the way to run them before. It ended up being more damage, and now it's actually a Photid blade, and Woe Stav is more damaging.
Because
I don't know the exact math on it, but it's like
it's because you get the extra rank, I think.
It is. It's like 50% extra damage or something. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it's an extra rank, it's almost like 50% more damage.
So, the big thing there, they still get to add 1 if they charged. So, I mean, you're basically getting 2 attacks, 3 attacks. You can pump them up to 4 attacks.
Yeah, and don't think that because they changed the War Scroll that they're not good. They're still extremely good.
Right. So, Mark, do you want to go into some lists?
Yeah. Do you want to start with the? Yeah, I'll start with the list. Let me share my screen here. I gotta figure out how to do that. All right. The first list I will talk about is
you got to go up and
I gotta click it.
Click the thing to share your. All right, we learned stuff.
So this list actually,
Can you
AOS Coach had Dan Brewer on him. That's his name, correct? Dan Brewer.
Right, Dan Brewer, Mr. Skaven.
Yeah, he's like this, and he has actually a Skaven masterclass video on his YouTube that is actually extremely informative on how to manipulate movement with Skaven. That can just go watch the video. It's very informative. He's a very good teacher with it. It'll help.
Try and put a link to the thing below.
Yep. So I'm not gonna. He went into extreme detail about this list on AOS Coach's channel about a week ago. So I'm not gonna go into huge detail. And if you want to go watch that, we can link that in the thing below. But it basically is it's a death frenzy list. So you're gonna it hinges on using Thankful and Bone Ripper, casting Death Frenzy on the Storm Vermin to be able to put out as much damage as possible. Right now, I think the Death Frenzy lists are probably the best lists in.
Okay, so I'm stupid. What is Death Frenzy?
Death Frenzy, I'm sorry, I should explain that. Death Frenzy allows you to pile an attack when you're killed. So before you die, pile in, attack. Before a model is taken off.
Well, even though I have a bunch of Plague Monks or whatever, they get attacked and 20 of them die. They still get to attack anyway.
20, you get to pile in and attack. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So in this meta, I think that Death Frenzy is like the best thing you can do, and he was talking about that as well, and that's why he had Thankful and Bone Ripper in his list. Thankful and Bone Ripper is your best spellcaster. He has a +2 to cast, just for being thankful.
Right.
So he's because Death Frenzy is not easy to cast. It's on a 7, so
it is a 7.
And there's a lot of magic lists running around there, like Hollow Heart and Zinch and Seraphon now, that are going to be able to dispel and normal Death Frenzy if you're just casting it with a Gracier on Bell. So Thankful gives you a better chance of that going off. And then it's got the Warpnaw Vermin Lord, which
and he's good against hordes, which there is somewhat of a horde meta still.
yes, he's extremely good against horde. Whether either you're using, I know in his list he had the Warpfire Braziers. The Warpfire Braziers make him more. I think it's less good against a horde, but better if a hero or say like a, I don't know, like a Keeper of Secrets or something charges him, he can fight back better. But the Warpfire Projectors will annihilate like Mortek Guard or anything. So that's why I like him, because you have your Warpnaw Vermin Lord to take out any key threats. And he talked about this on AOS Coach's show, that he thinks that the Warpnaw Vermin Lord is the best Vermin Lord. I happen to agree. When you give him Gyre Strike, if you are in the realm of Gyran, he's on a 2-up, 2-up. So Gyre Strike makes you +1 to hit and wound.
+1 to hit, +1 to damage.
Yep, +1 to hit, +1 to wound. So yeah, you're on a 2-up, 2-up. You have the command trait Malevolent, which lets you reroll 1s on the wound. And then there's a command ability that lets you reroll 1s on the hit. So you're on 2-up, 2-up, rerolling 1s to wound and to hit. Ren -2, 5 damage apiece. So you can just like murder any, like Maw Crusher. Like you can just kill whatever you want to kill with him. So and he has a great spell like we talked about. I won't go into too much more detail on this list. I'll let you go over to AOS Coach's show. They go into it's like a 2-hour video on this, but basically this list kind of covers all your bases. You have horde killing capabilities with the Storm Vermin and Thankful and Bone Ripper. You have hero killing capabilities with the Warpnaw Vermin Lord and the Warp Lightning Cannon. And then you have your 2 blocks of 40 Clan Rats, which allow you to manipulate the board and capture objectives effectively.
Yeah, and so you're also taking advantage of your 40, getting the +1 to hit, +1 to wound, and having good bravery.
Yeah.
In battle shot.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
All right, and then do you have a list you want to go to, or do you want me to go to the next one?
Well, mine's kind of a goofy list, so your choice.
I can do one more.
I'll go ahead and do mine.
Okay.
My theory here is that this is theory crafting, right? Try and make it bigger. So this is a theory crafted list, but just kind of interesting. Is that this is using this is the molder list, and so it's using you got essentially 2 master molders as heroes in the list, and then we're going to use this Flesh Meld Menagerie, which basically when you when you get when you die, the molder gets to roll a molder hero gets to roll a 5-up to bring back a unit on a command point, but this is going to give them a 4-up.
It also makes this list like a 2-drop, correct?
This list is a 2-drop, 3-drop. I'm sorry, because you only get one molder in the list. So
okay.
So it is a 3-drop. Yeah. So the it's the what is the list? Flesh Meld Menagerie.
I will add that your Gray Seer needs to be the general.
Well,
because otherwise you don't have battle line. You have 0 battle line.
No, because your Master Molder's the general. That makes
no, because it has to.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, so the Master Molder has to be the general.
Gray Seer.
I'm sorry, Gray Seer. Yeah. So the Flesh Meld Menagerie, 1 Master Molder, 0 to 3 Hell Pits, 1 to 3 Pack Masters, 1 to 4 Rat Swarms, 1 to 4 unit of Rat Ogres. And when the Master Molder from the battalion uses Unleash more and more Beast Command ability, 4 for a unit that is from the same battalion that has been destroyed. A new unit is added to your army on a roll of 4 up instead of 5 up. And so all of these guys here are part of that. Well, everything below is part of that battalion. So that's the idea here. So we got a Gray Seer, just kind of some anti-magic protection. So prize creations, you add a D3 wounds to the Help Hit Abomination and reroll hits of 1. So each Help Hit's going to get an extra D3 wounds. Mm-hmm. I chose a Rabid Crown on the second Master Molder guy, which is reroll wound rolls for Molder pack units wholly within 13 inches of the bearer. So that's the Rat Ogres and the Giant Rats. The Aether Quartz Brooch is really just because you're going to be using command points for these guys blowing up. You only can use that command ability once, but you'd probably be using it for other things as well. And you only start with 2. You start with 2. So Pack Masters, Mark, off the top of my head, what are they doing?
They make it easier for your
add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by clans Molder pack units while they're wholly within 12. And so what are pack units?
Rat Ogres.
The Ogres and the Giant Rats are all pack units.
Mm-hmm.
So what this really is doing is you got enough screen guys to try and prevent like getting wiped off the map early to protect your Help Hits. And my dog is barking. So then, and the Rat Ogres then I'm going to hit 2. I'm going to mute, and you can take your next list.
Okay. Well, all right. While the dog's barking, I'll also add to that about this list that he had up. He's taking advantage of having lower. He's not like he could run, a bigger brick of Rat Ogres, but he's taking advantage. He's trying to take advantage of the, using the. Oh my god, a brain fart. Using the command ability to bring back more Rat Ogres. If he has a larger block of Rat Ogres, it's possible that it won't die, and he wouldn't be able to use the command ability at all to bring them back. So he's trying to take advantage of having smaller units so he could bring those back.
Yeah, I'm back.
I was just talking that you were running. You're trying to take advantage of smaller units here using the Master Molder's command ability, because if you're running a bigger brick of these things and all of them don't die, then you don't ever have a chance to use the Master Molder command ability. Now I will say that kind of the crux of these type of lists is that the Master Molders, if someone can just pick them off with magic, you're kind of screwed.
Right. That's why I said it's kind of, but you got your Help Hit Abomination, and so like your Help Hits, they're going to have an extra D3 wounds, so they're going to be 13 to 15 wounds.
Yeah.
When the Help Hit dies, you roll, and on a 5 or 6, it's alive. It's not slain.
It heals a D6 wounds. And
it heals a D6 wounds. But then if it does die, you can use your command ability to try and bring it back.
No, I think you can't use it to bring back the Help Hit Abomination.
Yes, you can.
I'm like 99%. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Doesn't it say pack units though?
Nope.
Or does it say Fighting Beast?
Fighting Beasts.
I hope you're right. Oh.
It is Molder.
Here.
Listen.
I'm pulling it up right now. Sorry, guys. You can use this command ability. No, Clan Molder pack unit.
Oh, to bring them back?
Yeah, so you can't bring back a Help It.
All right, sorry about that. But you do get to add the. You get the, because you've picked them. You can reroll 1 for attacks with melee weapons by them.
Oh yeah, for the prize creation stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I actually think
So obviously I haven't played this list, but it was a theory crafted list that
you
was
don't play Skaven.
something a little different.
Yeah, it's dude. When Skaven came out, I was like, man, I was all about trying to make like a low drop list with the flesh meld menagerie. I tried so many lists. I think the hell pit abomination though is like 1 point adjustment from actually being pretty good.
The problem is the rat ogres.
The rat ogres are too expensive. There's no reason that rat ogres should be
150 points a piece.
They should be like ogres, but rats. Like
Right.
like ogres. So much worse.
Yeah, I made a note that basically you could you could drop this grace here, and you could bring in you could even bring in like Screech Vermin King by dropping out a grace here and maybe a unit of rat ogres. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, you basically also would be able to generate clan rats.
Right. Yeah.
And go from there. So
I want Screech Vermin King to be good, man. The best spell in the game. Dreaded 13th. All right, I'll move on to my next list. If you want to pop over to my screen. All right, so let me zoom in for us here. Is that better? Here I have this Skaven list is it's a scryer list with clan.
Can you do it's Control Plus while you're highlighted on that window to make them bigger? There you go.
Is that good?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is basically a scryer list with clan rats. I'll start off. We have the Arch Warlock. That's going to be your general. He has the command trait Deranged Inventor, which allows you to. Oh my god, I'm brain farting.
I'll look it up. Keep talking.
Basically, the whole point of this list is to have your Arch Warlock and Warlock Engineers buff your Storm Fiends and/or Warplock Giselles to basically shoot off the opponent before they ever get to you. So,
Deranged Inventor at the start of your shooting phase, pick one fire unit and reroll hit rolls for attack.
Yeah, so the whole point of this list is you're gonna have the Arch Warlock is generally gonna be babysitting with the Storm Fiends, and they're just gonna walk around together, and he's gonna be doing Deranged Inventor, Vigor Dust Injector, and more warp power on the turns that he's going to be charging in and shooting. Basically, and you're going to be using your Scryer Warpstone Sparks to increase your range damage as well of the Storm Fiends and or Giselles. But this is a whole shooting list based off of blocking your opponents off with the clan rats while the Storm Fiends and the Giselles shoot from the back. And you are also you also have the Vermin Lord Orbs here. And here I brought him in for the command ability that allows you to not take Battle Shock, and also he has the dreaded Warp Gale spell, which helps lock your opponent in not being able to move as much to be able to. They won't get to your Giselles, because your Giselles are really going to be the thing that's going to be putting out a lot of damage when you Warpstone Spark them. And you're not moving, you're going to be re-rolling all your hits. And it's Ren -2, 2 damage apiece. So
your Giselles are base 4 up, 3 up, 2 Ren, 2 damage.
Yeah, but if they don't move, they get to re-roll. And
add 2 to saves. But
and add 2 to saves against shooting. So.
And if they get a 6, it does 2 mortal wounds and
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so this whole list, like I said, is just basically blocking off your Giselles, and you're gonna have Arch Warlock and Engineer babysit the Storm Fiends and Giselles while the clan rats are taking objectives and providing screens for you to try and shoot people off the table.
And then you've chosen.
I've chosen the Vermintide because you can plant it. You can use it as a wall in front of your Giselles and or Storm Fiends because it doesn't hurt you and it just will block off people from charging and getting in combat with you.
Okay.
You can use it as like a screen for that. I mean, you can also use it as a damaging spell, but I find it probably more useful as something to screen off your opponent with.
Is your Palisade better? I guess you can't shoot.
I think the Vermintide's better because it is a bigger base.
And you can shoot over it. It doesn't block line of sight.
Correct. And you're actually not awful against shooting because you generally, like, shooting armies generally want to shoot what they're in combat with. And if your clan rats get up into the shooting stuff, like, you're just like, okay, shoot my clan rats, I don't care. While you're picking off key things with the Giselles and Storm Fiends. And also, your Giselles are pretty resilient against shooting. If they don't move, they're going to have plus to their save against shooting. And generally, you're going to try and throw them in cover to have +1 again. So you're going to be 3 up against shooting on most things. So your Giselles are pretty hard to move off the table against shooting.
Okay.
But
what are your,
if they ever get in combat with Storm Fiends with Vigor Dust Injector and more warp power put out a ridiculous amount of damage in combat as well. Even the shooting guys, their clubbing blows still do. It's 4 up, 4 up, 2 damage apiece.
It's actually 4 up, 3 up.
4 up, 3 up. Even better. 4 up, 3 up, 2 damage apiece.
Yes.
So, yeah. Yeah, they do a lot of damage in combat as well.
Right. And then the Warp Fire Projector was something that they kind of nerfed down. It's now an anti... you don't even have them on there, do you? I
don't even have them on there. I have the Wind Launchers and the Rattling Cannons. The Wind Launchers are pretty good anti-horde because it's 4 up, 3 up.
24-inch range, 4 up.
Ren -3, right?
4 up, 3 up, Ren -3, D3 damage, 3 attacks, 24-inch range.
Yeah, so so you can be shooting those and not even have line of sight onto these groups of 10. Yeah, because you get a +1 to hit against larger groups, 10 or more models.
Yep.
So yeah, you're using your Storm Fiends and Gels to pick off key things. When they do get into combat, eventually with your Storm Fiends are extremely good in melee combat as well. So that's the whole idea of this list. I think that if you're not going to go the whole Death Frenzy way, I think that this is probably the best, like one of the better lists. And I will add, you see that I have more warp power twice. That's just redundancy in case your Arch Warlock gets killed and or your Engineer gets killed. You're gonna want to have, because more warp power provides a lot of ability to do a lot of damage in this list. So they're going to try and, if you just only had one, they're going to pick it off and your damage output's going to go down. So it's just redundancy because these things only have 5 and 6 wounds. The Engineer has 5 and the Arch Warlock has 6.
Are you going to be using your gnaw holes to move your Storm Fiends through? Is that the idea, or get them close?
I mean, it just depends. Yeah, you can use your Storm. Yeah, so you can pop up with Storm Fiends and an Engineer, babysitting with it, and start getting shots in because the Rattling Cannon only has a range of 12. But yeah, you're generally going to pop up with them and or the Clan Rats too.
Okay.
Kind of annoy them. That's that list. Did you want to go over your crazy one or no?
Well, I don't have a crazy one.
I thought you had that Demonette or the like.
Oh, I do have it. It's not really. Okay, so let me tell you, take another thing on this list, and I don't know, maybe whatever. the Giselles, you could easily replace you could use a Warp Lightning Cannon, right, instead of Giselles.
Yeah, you could. I think
Giselles are better, but
I think Giselles do a lot more damage over the course of the game.
but a ramped up Warp Lightning Cannon can really do some damage, right?
Yeah, you can, but you can't use any of the buffs that the Scryer stuff allows on the Warp Lightning Cannon because it doesn't have a damage characteristic or anything like that.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, if you
got an engineer within 3 of them, you can roll 12 dice instead of 6 for an attack.
Yeah, and if you roll a 1 and you spike it or whatever.
Yeah, you blow yourself up.
12 wounds.
Yeah. You can 12 wound somebody.
Yeah. That's always a good feeling.
Okay, so I have a crazy list, but this was actually let me see if I can find it here. It's really not Skaven, I guess. And I'm going to try.
Majority.
What's that? Well, it's just I was going to say be aware or whatever. What I've been seeing, I saw in I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Saw this on the tabletop simulator list or whatever tournament, and so basically we were seeing it's not Skaven, but you were seeing Legion of Chaos Ascendant, and so and I forget whose list this was, but it's something a little different. So basically, you're basically, because Chaos Ascendant allows you to pull in the demons from Chaos Demons, you're basically pulling in a lot of Vermin Lords. And so that's the idea, is that basically you're going to get Karos in there, and you got Be'lakor, and then Karos, I think, can pull in pink horrors, right? And then the Vermin Lord with Gyre Strike, which Mark has talked about being nasty, and then the 2 Vermin Lords. And so, yeah, that was just kind of a crazy list. But yeah, basically it's like a way to bring in a bunch of Vermin Lords and still be, kind of decent. Unfortunately, they did not give us the battalion, which said, you can run all Vermin Lords and their battle line or something, like
I need that in my life.
Yeah. So that was my crazy one, just throwing it out there. But I guess I was going to say is this Legion of Chaos Ascendant, kind of on a different topic. Don't be surprised to see the Skaven guys in that.
Yeah. I think that's sweet. I think that's like fun little stuff in this game that most people don't think of.
Right. Back to you.
All right. This is my next list. This is the final list I have. This is like I just was thinking about it, honestly, like today or the other day. I don't know if it would suck or not.
So this is your typical Scream Bell list, right?
No, it's not typical at all.
Okay.
I mean, not that I've seen online. Maybe, I don't know, maybe other people have come up with this, but I have not seen this. So your typical Screaming Bell list is just like 40 Clan Rats, 40 Clan Rats, 40 Clan Rats, Plague Monks as well, 2 Screaming Bells, like stuff like that.
Okay.
This is just kind of like a theory craft list that I was like, well, maybe this could work. So the whole thing behind this list was I wanted to play Acolytes. So that's where I started.
Okay.
I think Acolytes are, on paper, on paper, they're the best. I mean, they're the best unit in the book. They do just ungodly amounts of damage.
Yeah, they get the wind globe they throw, 4 up, run -2, D3 damage.
Yeah,
they get rolls if they charged.
Yeah, they can run and shoot.
More models, I'm sorry.
Yeah, add 1 to hit rolls if there's more than 10 models, and they can run and shoot.
Right. Plus, they get all the other Skaven bonuses.
Yeah.
That apply to all Skaven things.
So I wanted to play a Scryer Acolyte list. So so I started there, and then The I did the whole Derange Inventor, more warp power again. The Derange Inventor and more warp power allows your Scryer Acolytes to do. So you're going to be re-rolling all your hit rolls. You can Warpstone Spark the Acolytes, and you can do more warp power. And when you're taking D3 mortal wounds, when you have 30 of them, it's really like not that big of a deal when you increase the damage output by an immense amount. So that's why I have this giant block of Scryer Acolytes. And again, I have the Bombardier and Arch Warlock with more warp power, just for redundancy in case one dies. We talked about the Warp Null Vermin Lord earlier. He doesn't have Malevolent in this list to make him as consistent, but a dude who can pop up and deal, do 2-up, 2-up.
Buddy.
What?
He can just go murder somebody.
Yeah, like just the ability to do 20, a possible 20 damages. That's like not something to scoff at for 260 points. I mentioned why I have the Arch Warlock and Warlock Bombardier. The Gracier on Screaming Bell, I brought that in for his ability for the Battle Shock.
Yeah, ring the bell.
And ring the bell. Yeah, spike that 12. Give me that Screech Vermin King. But I brought him in for his ability, his casting ability, and the ability to units not have Battle Shock if they're wholly within 13 inches of it. So, and I brought in the Warp Gale, Lore of Ruin Warp Gale, because Warp Gale allows you to help lock down certain models. It reduces movement, so that's another one of those. Helps you reduce movement so they can't charge you, charge your Giselles and stuff. I brought in just 20 clarinets, 20 clarinets, 20 clarinets. I didn't have room for multiples of 40. I could have taken out. I could have took out the Bombardier and threw in another 40, but I think the redundancy of the more warp power is more important. The clarinets are just there to provide bodies and capture objectives. And then I brought the Giselles again because it just gives you the ability to pop key units off from a range that you're not going to be able to get to with the Warp Null Vermin Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And with the ability of doing, the Deranged Inventor and more warp power, you're going to be doing a lot of damage with the Warp Block Giselles. You can see I brought in the Bell of Doom. That allows me to, if my Scryer Acolytes or Clarinets aren't near the Gracier and Screaming Bell, it allows me to give them Battle Shock immunity in that way. You can also see I brought an extra command point for 50 points because the Scryer Acolytes, you basically always want to just run them 6 and for other stuff because they can run and shoot because they only have an 8-inch range. So you need to run them 6 to.
Yeah, their move is 6.
Yeah. So, but now I had 30 points left. I brought a Prismatic Palisade just in case I needed to provide like a little wall screen or something like that. I will say the crux of this list is something like the OCR Bone Reaper's Catapult, or any range if they get the turn on, if they go turn 1 and if they choose turn and they have a bunch of range and can just kill all your acolytes, like you're not gonna have a fun time at all.
Right. And bravery, because the acolyte's bravery is 4.
Yeah, well, hopefully
something that attacks the base bravery stat.
Yeah. Like
the Mortek Crawler.
Yeah, like the Mortek Crawler. Yeah, so oddly enough, for this being a range list, you're not going to do well against range lists probably because this many drops, you're not going to probably get the choice on turn.
Okay, let me throw out a couple of questions for you in your list building and stuff that I haven't seen.
Okay.
We talked a little bit about Warp Lightning Cannon. I used to see lists that were basically a bell and a couple warp lightning cannons and stuff like that. What about, that's pretty common still, right?
Yeah, it's pretty common. I personally like you can the only reason I don't like the warp lightning cannon so much, if you have Giselles and stuff, like you don't need it for stuff if you have Giselles. But second off, you have to always have an engineer babysitting it. So if they just kill off the engineer, like it's not that great.
Right. Probably overcosted right now, but the Doom Wheel, right?
Yeah, the Doom Wheel. Dan Brewer spoke on the Doom Wheel. He had actually pretty good things to say about it. I've personally never ever thought of putting one in.
It sounds like
I want to. I mean, it's like that.
That
was like my favorite thing to do in Warhammer Fantasy.
The Doom Wheel through the gnaw holes, right? It's like kind of like a missile send through, right?
Yeah, you can use it to assassinate like small 5-wound heroes. But I think if you're going to go the Doom Wheel route, I think the Warp Lightning Cannon is better at that.
So, rattling gun units. The problem is that's just one guy, right?
Oh, like the weapon teams.
The weapon team.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of any of the weapon teams really. They're just really expensive for one unit that is probably going to die very fast.
Right. So, did we talk about Storm Vermin? They're basically pretty good right now, right? So they're basically
they are way overcosted, but they are
well, they are battle line, right?
Yeah, they're battle line. So Storm Vermin are overcosted, but they aren't awful. I mean, you can retreat and charge with them, which is super nice.
Add 2 to roll.
They're not good by themselves, I guess. They have to have support with them, like the Claw Lord, to make them use the command ability that gives them extra attack, or they have to have Death Frenzy on them, because if something hits them before they hit them, they're just gonna melt.
Right.
Because they don't have a good save.
Yeah, the saves. Well, 5 up becomes 4 up with shields.
Yeah, but still.
All right. So
I mean, they're not.
Was there any other units?
For how many points they are, it's 15 points a model. You know what I mean?
Right.
For how many points they are, I feel like they need to have the things surrounding it to make them better.
So I guess the thing is that we didn't talk about, but basically, so you're Skaven though, and you didn't really do a magic heavy list, but it looks like my research into Skaven is basically you can build a list that does anything and does it well. You probably can build a list that does 2 of 3 things. You can either fight, I'm talking fight, magic, or shoot, right?
Yeah.
So you can build a list that does 2 of those 3 things well. You probably can't do one that does everything. So you're going to have to tailor your list to be what you want. Do you want a magic and shooting? Do you want a magic and fighting? Do you want a shooting and fighting?
Yeah, my comment on that is that magic has gotten like, so when the Skaven book originally came out, Skaven was like they were the masters of magic. They were the best at it when it came out. But now you've had Seraphon. Seraphon's better at it than them. Tzeentch is better at it than them. Hollowheart is better at them. Yeah, better at it than them. So you have 3 pretty prevalent armies that are better at magic than you, that are going to be dispelling a lot of your stuff.
Right, Legion of Sacrament, Arcane.
Dispelling and unbinding all your stuff.
So.
And the Warp Lightning Vortex got nerfed. That was like another big reason magic is like not as good.
So we've heard that the Warp Lightning Vortex is better off in a KO list than.
Yes. Well, that's because they can just
they can drop down with
They
it.
can drop down. Yeah, like it doesn't affect them. They're happy to.
So, do you have anything you want to add? Got about an hour and a half. We're into it.
Do I have anything else? No, I mean, I hope that in the next General's Handbook that some point adjustments I'd like to see. I'd like to see Storm Fiends probably come down a little bit. I'd like to see Storm Vermin come down.
Doom Wheel down a little bit.
I think Doom. There's a lot that could come down. Rad Ogre, like Eshin, you could probably just rewrite.
Just people who watch our show probably know or watch Warhammer Weekly. I think Vince talked about the point increases that they had for the Skaven were right, but there's a bunch of units that probably need to come down a little bit.
Yeah,
because you just don't see them.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the General's Handbook with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I should have reminded people early on. We appreciate you subscribing, hit the bell.
We're so bad at that part.
What's that?
We're bad at that part.
Right. We've been trying to get a little more consistent. The biggest thing I'm looking forward to is actually being able to play some games. We've been talking about all this stuff and really getting the itch to play.
And it sucks though, because like most people would think that I could come over to the house and we could play a game, but I'm an ER nurse and I take care of COVID people all the time. So
yeah, it's not the best and I think Skaven are not the best list for tabletop simulator, right? Because of the lots of it looks horrible.
Playing a board game on tabletop simulator is hard enough for me. I don't think I want to.
Don't want to try and move.
I don't even want to try and move models on tabletop simulator.
Right. So
maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll have to try it.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's it for me, unless you have anything else to add.
No.
Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you. Have a good
one, guys.
Have a good one. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Stop.